I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
In what could be a good omen for the rest of the Minnesota legislative session, lawmakers passed a bipartisan bill Thursday that will provide relief from high health insurance premiums.
Well, Duluth's Catholic schools are being reorganized with an eye toward the future and the possibility of a Catholic high school in the city.
And we'll look at the week's business headlines and see a story that was in the news 25 years ago.
It's all coming up on Almanac North. Well, hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. And Julie, this is the last weekend of January, and the days are getting a bit longer.
Yeah, I can't believe how fast the year is going, and it is nice to see some extra daylight.
That sunshine feels good late at night, or late in the afternoon, I guess. All right, we've got some great topics, so might as well get started.
All right. Thank you, Denny. Welcome, everyone. Relief is on the way for Minnesotans facing the prospect of huge increases in their health insurance premiums in 2017. Minnesota lawmakers came together in bipartisan fashion this week to pass a bill that will provide relief for consumers facing big jumps in health insurance costs. But some Democrats balked at a portion of the bill that will allow for-profit HMOs to enter the Minnesota health insurance market. Joining us is Representative Jennifer Schultz, a DFLer from Duluth who serves on the Health and Human Services Finance Committee. And thank you for being here. Very busy week down in St. Paul, it sounds like.
It's always busy, but yes, we're actually productive this week. So I'm excited to tell you about the bill.
Yeah, let's talk about the bill because it did pass with overwhelming bipartisan support, and yet I understand that you voted against it. Why did you do that?
Well, it had other things besides premium relief. And I had been traveling down to St. Paul for the last 4 months to work in a bipartisan fashion with my Republican colleagues to get immediate relief to people who are struggling to pay high health insurance premiums. And the Republicans just refused to compromise or accept language that the governor wanted to get them rebates immediately because timing was everything in this case. So open enrollment period ends next Tuesday. And we wanted to make sure people knew that they were going to have premium relief so they would sign up for coverage for this year.
So when you vote no on a bill like this, is that indicating that you have a preference that no bill be signed at all over the one that was passed?
Well, I made a motion last night on the floor, yesterday afternoon, to send the bill back to committee to take out the language that allows for-profit HMOs to operate in Minnesota. Right now, to operate, you need to be a not-for-profit. And the language that the Republicans added in was to allow for-profits to operate. And that's the language that a lot of people in my caucus and on the DFL side were against that language because it also had not been vetted to the public. We had no idea how we would even structure conversions of HMOs from for-profit to not-for-profit. And we were really concerned that we were putting something permanently in statute that wasn't vetted by our agencies, by the Commissioner of Commerce, and we were really concerned. I was always supportive of premium relief, and that piece I voted for. And I voted for to send it to conference committee. It would take a few minutes to delete that for-profit language, bring it back, and we could have still passed it off the floor yesterday.
So what kind of premium relief will this bill, now law, provide?
Well, this is the governor's proposal that we had introduced 4 months ago, and it's basically a discount. Everyone who buys coverage on the individual market would get a 25% discount on their premium if they don't qualify for federal subsidies.
It's going to cost the state some monies, will it not?
It is. It's going to be about $312 million. That's going to be discounted, so that'll be savings for Minnesotans on their bottom line premium. And then we put in a little bit more, 15 million, to do other things. For example, to continue continuity of care. So if you are getting cancer treatment and you have to switch plans at the end of the year for the next year, you'll have 120 days to continue coverage with that specialist or provider, and the state will pick up the expense.
Are there other reforms that you would really advocate for to help small communities and rural people maybe have more options in terms of buying health insurance if you don't want the for-profits to come in?
Yes, well, in the bill that was passed yesterday, we offered what are called egg co-ops. So farmers could then come together, buy insurance through an egg co-op model. So those were approved in the bill. And I think it's also Big Ag. So if you work for a big egg company, you would be allowed to enroll. But that's only a very small section, but a lot, would help Greater Minnesota. So I think it's a fine idea, but we were tasked with trying to shore up the individual health insurance market, which is falling apart. And we need to stabilize that by March of this year. So really nothing in those extra provisions the Republicans added stabilizes the health insurance market, and that's also a timing issue.
Jennifer, this bill got support from both sides of the aisle, as you well know. Are we seeing relationships mending in St. Paul? This came awfully early and came quickly.
Well, I wouldn't say it came earlier quickly, because remember, we were working on it for 4 months.
Well, that's true.
So it didn't really come quickly, but I am very optimistic that the majority leader in the Senate, Paul Gazelka, will have a good relationship with Governor Dayton, and he wants to get things done. He does not want to have another session where we don't get our things finished by May.
How closely are you watching the national efforts to repeal and replace Obamacare, and what do you see as the possible implications here in our state?
Well, I'm watching it very closely. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's why Governor Dayton, in his budget proposal that came out recently, wants to make sure we continue the provider tax so we have enough revenue for our public health insurance programs, and that we have some ideas, some visions to go forward in case something happens at the national level, like block granting Medicaid. So we want to make sure we have enough revenue to continue our public programs we've had for over 20 years.
Bottom line, are people of Minnesota better off now with this new law?
Yes, because they're going to get premium discounts. The other option that's in the governor's budget, wasn't in this bill, was introducing a public option and having that available to anybody. And this would be basically expanding Minnesota Care, making it another health insurance choice on the market that would increase competition and hopefully lower premiums. And we've seen forecasts that would save, if people enrolled, it would be much cheaper than what's currently available, and they would save about $800 a year in premiums.
Do state governments engage at all in lobbying Congress in terms
Well, it's interesting that you asked that, because I am headed to Washington, D.C. Sunday through Wednesday of this coming week to talk to people like Representative Nancy Pelosi and others about health policy and to find out what they think is going to happen, bring that back so we can better prepare for that.
There's some other issues, too, we should talk about a little bit in the legislature. Are we going to get a bonding bill? Will we see that action take place?
You know, I think we will get a bonding bill. It might be similar to what we didn't pass last session, and that does include the steam plant, so I'm optimistic. But it's the Republicans will probably try to negotiate for a pretty large tax cut.
Okay.
To get, we know the Democrats really want a bonding bill because we need to invest in our infrastructure and create jobs. It's a jobs bill. And I think what the Republicans really want are large tax cuts to mostly wealthy Minnesotans. And I think there's going to be some negotiating with the tax bill and the bonding bill.
If there is some bonding dollars provided, under $1 billion, do you think?
I think it'll be around $1 billion.
Not $1 billion.
800 million to $1 billion. And that's because a lot of the things that were in the bonding bill were transportation related, and if they take those out, it'll reduce the size of that bonding bill.
As you look at a budget year, where do you see the battle lines really lining up? Different issues that you think are going to be the touch points this year?
Well, already we've seen a bill that was very controversial that would fine people for protesting, public protesting. That's peaceful, but maybe closes a road, creates more need for public safety officers. So that was extremely controversial because they thought it was an infringement, the public did, on their First Amendment rights as free speech.
Aren't there safety issues associated with closing down a freeway or blocking the entrance to an airport, for instance, though? Would those be cases where maybe there should be more penalties?
There are. I mean, there are fees. They want to make them larger and more strict. But also, even if they don't close a road or a bridge, that there still be fines that could be applicable to those who protest.
What's happening with the Minnesota ID bill?
The Real ID bill has been heard, and that has been controversial because the Republicans want to attach some language on undocumented immigrants to that. And I think we just need to pass a clean bill. People need a federally compliant ID as soon as possible so they can get into federal buildings in Washington, D.C. and on military bases.
Will that pass this year, Jennifer?
Yes, I think it will pass this year, and I'm hoping for a clean bill. But it's going to be a lot of compromising, and I think you see that in the health insurance premium relief bill. There was some big compromises made there.
What about Sunday liquor sales?
Sunday liquor sales, I think, is going to pass. I feel it's not a big issue. I don't hear a lot about it from my constituents because we can go to Superior. We have a lot of local retailers, though, that are pretty concerned about it, that they don't want to be open on Sunday, and really it benefits the big box liquor stores.
Now, the governor said in signing the bill this week, if we all give a little, Minnesotans will gain a lot. What do you think?
That's true. And I mean, the Democrats are ready to compromise. We just don't want anything really toxic that will hurt us in the long run.
And do you see toxic things coming down?
I do, especially when it comes to things like legislative redistricting. Right now, Kurt Dowd has introduced a bill that wants to give our electoral votes to congressional districts. So if that was the case, half of our electoral votes would have gone to Trump in this last election, 5 and 5 would have gone to Hillary Clinton. So I think, you know, there's a big push for the popular vote and counting the popular vote. That goes backwards.
We'll have you back. I wish we had more time.
Good. Yeah, thanks for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Representative.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
Wisconsin lawmakers call it the wrong execution of the right idea. Governor Tommy Thompson wants video gambling machines available in all taverns statewide because he says the revenue generated, an estimated $1.5 billion annually, will lead to property tax relief.
Well, Republicans have called it stupid, and Democrats have called it illogical, and the public is confused and puzzled.
Senator Bob Jauch says that's because Thompson used to hate the idea of gambling taking over Wisconsin. In fact, the governor spoke out against it in December.
I'm trying to comment because I don't think gambling is the panacea. And I'm telling the tribes and I'm telling people in the state of Wisconsin, let's go really slow. Let's not make a mistake.
In Superior, the prospect of video gambling is also drawing criticism from Mayor Herb Bergson, who says dangling the promise of tax relief for gambling sends a mixed message.
No, I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think we have enough of the unlimited stakes type gambling right now, and all you're doing is taking from one pocket and putting it into another.
By most estimates, Thompson's plan is not likely to survive in Madison. In fact, some lawmakers say the odds are astronomical. Ryan Davenport, KDOH News.
Following 9 months of development, the Diocese of Duluth announced last week it has completed a plan for its Duluth area Catholic schools. It's the Called to Be One plan and will unify operations into one citywide school with multiple campuses. St. Michael's School in Lakeside will close under the plan, and a Catholic high school will start up at St. John Parish. Joining us now tonight is Bishop Paul Serba of the Duluth Diocese, who approved the plan, and Sister Edith Bogue served on the Called to Be One planning team. I want to thank both of you for being here tonight. And Bishop, Duluth did have a Catholic school at one time, Cathedral High School. What's changed between then and now?
Well, I think, for a long time we had a Catholic high school from the, early stages of our history until about 44 years ago. I think since I came to the diocese, there's been kind of an excitement on the part of people. In answer to prayers, they've been saying, couldn't we provide a continuum of Catholic education to complement the great work that's being done in our pre-K through 8 and then follow it through the high school years. So I think the time just seemed to be ready to, relook at the issue and try and do what we can to provide
And
that.
you're trying to do that yet in 2017, is that correct?
Well, in a best case scenario, if we're able to meet some of our deadlines and things like that on our timeline, that would be the earliest it would start. And then each year we would add a successive grade. So
Sure.
begin with a 9th grade and then the following year a 10th grade. So.
Let's talk about what could be some real fundamental changes in how Catholic schools are operated in Duluth, because currently they're more of a parochial model where a parish manages and is really in charge of a Catholic school, and this would move that to more of a centralized version. Talk about why you think it would be better to have one school with multiple campuses versus having, separate schools run by parishes.
Right, and the parochial model has served us well over the 125 years, but our belief now is, and the data and the conversations we have is saying unifying that will strengthen us, provide better accessibility, affordability, stewardship, and coming together under that one governance model with the multiple campuses would serve us better. That's really kind of the reason to move ahead with that. It's also something that's been replicated in other parts of the country. Other dioceses have done that.
Sister, take us behind the scenes a little bit. What's been going on now for the last many months? I mean, this just isn't an idea that came up last week.
No, the Call to Be One team was formed by Bishop Serba. He invited all of the members, and we worked with the Reed Group, a consulting group that works in Catholic education nationally. We met as a committee. We had 2 retreats at which various community members were able to come and talk about plans. We had a survey with over 600 responses, and then the committee itself had representatives from each of the 4 parishes that currently have a school. And so we were able to tour the schools, understand their physical capabilities, their strengths and their weaknesses. We went through 2 drafts of a plan, and each one of those drafts involved an awful lot of hair pulling and late night wrangling and all that sort of thing. After the second draft, we had focus groups, and various parents came in and talked about it, about their views on it. And we looked at a lot of configurations, and the one that we presented seems most likely to give good class sizes, good support for the teachers, common tuition across all of the settings. So we're really in favor of it.
And for those who aren't familiar with the plan, what would that configuration look like at the various schools?
At St. James, we aren't going to say St. James School anymore because it will be
At
one
the various
school.
campuses. I
So we call it, we've been calling it Duluth Catholic School because that won't be its name. But on that campus, it will be pre-K through 8, but there'll be a break for middle school. So it'll be pre-K with an elementary and then a separate group that's doing the middle school. On the east side of town, at the Holy Rosary campus, it will be pre-K through elementary, and then the middle school and the beginning of the high school will be at St. John's. And you'll notice I didn't say a grade where that middle school
noticed
break
that.
happens. Yeah, it's
Very savvy.
there were various views on where that break would best be placed, and so the committee decided to leave it for the incoming governing board to make that decision.
Bishop, are there any stumbling blocks that still need to be overcome?
Well, I think the plan is really very comprehensive and well put together. I think one of the things that is known in the community is that whenever there's a change that happens, some people are affected by that, and sometimes the change brings, some sadness or some difficulty. And so I think that's one aspect that I would really like to, say tonight is we're making every effort to reach out to those most affected by the change because we want to include everybody, in our moving forward. So that's one dimension to, the moving ahead. But other parts of the plan we're going to try and implement as soon as we can. And so also just trusting in the providence of God to guide us through that, but we have a pretty action-packed implementation phase.
Maybe you mentioned it, I didn't pick up on it.
Sure.
Is there a minimum number of students you need now to begin if you're going to start this fall for the freshman year?
For a high school?
Yes.
So did we have 20
We
or
were 20
something
was
About 20.
Yeah.
20.
Okay. Oh,
We're calling them pioneers,
there you go.
Pioneer families.
pioneer families.
Bishop, you mentioned that whenever there's change, some people get hurt, struggle with it.
Right.
In this case, St. Michael's.
Right.
5 years ago, the school was given the go-ahead to work on a plan to grow their enrollment.
Right.
They set goals, they met goals. Is it understandable if at this point in time, when it looks like things are on the uptick for them,
Right.
that this comes and circles around and they might feel that the decision doesn't really respect the investment, the good faith effort that they put into growing that school?
Yeah, I can understand, and empathize with, the reaction that way. Also, though, kind of in an ongoing sphere was, to look at the whole school system, which has been going on prior to my even coming, with other plans that have been generated. So we're hoping, though, that a segment of, or what the St. Michael's Parish is also interested in, that's early childhood programming, could continue to develop. So I know conversations have begun, and we want to further those, and being able to give them that, ministry in terms of the use of their buildings.
And would that be done then outside of the one Catholic school, because it's a
Right.
different thing?
Yes.
That preschool and early childhood is different from a K through 12 sort of education? Is that why that decision was made, to not make them the early childhood center, perhaps?
That was actually, it was in one of the earlier drafts, that that proposal. And at the time, it didn't seem to be something that the parents were supporting that came to the focus groups. If they, in retrospect, think that that's something they'd like to do, they do a fine job of it. They serve a wide spectrum of the community. It's not a Catholic-only group of people. And so it's different from the pre-K that leads directly into kindergarten.
Sister, in the planning committee's work, what have Catholic parents been telling the committee? What are you hearing from them?
We've heard an awful lot of enthusiasm for solid Catholic education. They see it as a way of holistic education, so that their child gets academically strong, but at the same time values character development, growth in the faith. And they'd like to see it stronger across the city. We've had competition between the schools, and part of this plan is trying to decrease that competition.
Location is another issue that I've heard people ask about. That a high school that serves both the east and the west, perhaps would be better served in a more central location, like at Holy Rosary, versus at St. John's, which is way on one end of the community. What was the thought process in locating the high school up at St. John's?
It's a lot about facilities. St. John's recently built a beautiful science lab, and so it's the kind of thing that would really enhance the high school program. If the high school really takes off, something as an addition will have to be built somewhere. So this is step one, this isn't step last.
Is there fundraising plans already kind of working behind the scenes?
Nothing in the works that way, other than what has been in place to support, Catholic education in the city of Duluth. In the future, if the growth happens like we hope it will, there would be efforts in that regard. But right now, it's to support, the one school and these multiple campuses. In some ways, they also hopes there'd be savings because of the stewardship within our buildings. Instead of maintaining, 4, we'll be able to house people in 3, and that would be a benefit, in terms of stewardship.
So if you get the 20 students, it would be a go this fall?
If we get the 20 students, and if we're able to complete the other parts of our implementation plan. Right now, the efforts are being put into, pulling together the new governing board of the school, and then it would be the hiring of a new president to oversee the operate.
And of course, St. Scholastica, Catholic education, would there be a role for St. Scholastica in helping to pull that high school program together at all?
We pray for it every day.
That's awesome.
Bishop
Okay.
Serba, Sister Bogue, thank you very much. Appreciate you telling your story.
It's great to be with you
Thank you
tonight.
very
Thanks so
much.
much for having us.
Let's turn now to the week's business news from our friends at Business North. Hard feelings resurfaced Monday as the result of a December Duluth City Council vote to support those who want to stop the North Dakota Access Pipeline. Bob Schoenberger, president of United Piping in Duluth, voiced economic concerns felt by more than 50 business and labor groups. Schoenberger said that pipelines are the safest way to transport oil, and area workers take pride in building them correctly. Rather than addressing controversies in other states, Schoenberger said the Duluth City Council should spend more time focusing on local problems.
In his annual State of the State address, Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton called for more investment in K through 12 education, higher education, and transportation infrastructure. Although Republicans have called for lower income taxes, the DFL governor said tax giveaways are not Minnesota's path to economic prosperity. In November, Republicans gained a majority in both legislative houses, but their majority falls short of the threshold needed to override an executive branch veto, suggesting gridlock is possible.
Dan Russell, the man who has led the Duluth Entertainment Convention Center for more than half of its 51-year existence, announced he's retiring August 31st. Russell joined the deck in 1989 after spending the previous 10 years leading the Duluth Convention and Visitors Bureau. He led development of Amsoil Arena, the Cityside Convention Center, the Harborside Convention Center, a movie theater complex, and 2 parking ramps. The deck also manages Bayfront Festival Park and operates the William A. Irvin Ship. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Sounds like Dan was a busy man. Call now if you have any comments on this week's show. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org and visit the WDSC website for the latest program listings, updates on your favorite PBS shows, and news about upcoming station events. And Julie, the John Bear Grease Sled Dog Marathon kicks off on Sunday, and of course the Lake Superior Ice Festival is underway in Superior, so there's lots to do this weekend.
And lots to do outdoors, especially. The Bear Grease is always one of my favorites.
Yeah, could be a fun time. Thank you. For Julie and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Dennis Henderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.